أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Say this while you are sitting and stable. Then stand for the third and last rak'at of the Maghrib prayer. Now you are free to either recite Surah Al-Fatiha or to say 3 times in a low voice the tasbihat. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Then perform the bowing and the 2 prostrations as was mentioned earlier. Then sit and say the tashahhud once again, and then complete your prayer by saying the salam. Say, Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin. Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. By this you have finished your Maghrib prayer. The other daily prayers are very similar to this one, and the main difference is in the number of units or rak'at. Know that both men and women should recite the Dhuhr and Asr prayers in a low voice, and only men should recite the Fajr and the first 2 rak'at of the Maghrib and Isha prayers aloud. And now, what invalidates your prayer? Number 1, everything that invalidates your wudu will invalidate your prayer, such as passing wind, urinating or sleeping, etc. Number 2, adding or missing one of the mandatory parts intentionally or unintentionally. The mandatory parts of your prayer are the intention, takbiratul ihram and the standing for it, the pause before bowing down for ruku', the ruku' or bowing itself, and the 2 prostrations. Number 3, deliberate deviation from the qibla will break and nullify your prayer. Number 4, also, if you fold your arms intentionally while you're praying. Number 5, deliberate speaking. Number 6, to deliberately say Ameen after reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Number 7, to laugh audibly, but just smiling does not nullify the prayer. Number 8, to cry for a materialistic and worldly issue. Number 9, to eat or drink during the prayer. Taqabbal Allah, your prayers are complete, and don't miss the high rewards of the tasbih of Lady Fatima, peace be upon her, after your prayer. This is done by you saying Allahu Akbar 34 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Subhanallah 33 times.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcoming you to Ahlulbayt TV and a Q&A session coming to you live this Sunday evening. An opportunity for you to put your questions to our esteemed Islamic scholar on all questions or on any question related to Islam or religion in general. And of course we welcome questions from those who are not followers of the Ahlulbayt or indeed not even a Muslim. Inshallah, as always, the ways in which you can get in touch with us are the same. The phone lines are now open if you'd like to call in and speak to our esteemed Islamic scholar directly. Alternatively, you can also post your questions on social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter. You can email us, and of course the text messaging service as well as WhatsApp is now up and running. So we look forward to hearing from you soon, wherever you may be around the world. As always, at this particular juncture, I take your permission to welcome our esteemed Islamic scholar to Ahlulbayt TV, His Eminence Sayyid Muhammad Al-Musawi Sayyidina. As always, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you with us once again. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammadin wa ajil farajahum. We seek from Allah to guide us to the right path and to protect us and our families from the evil which is existing in many parts of our life, many bad habits which are coming to our life from mixing with others, those who mix or live among the Western people. Many of them don't care for their parents nor for their relatives. And Allah in Quran has made it very clear, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ. Fear Allah. About fearing Allah, you will be questioned. And your relatives, al-arham, those who are related to you. So the relationship between us and our relatives is an important issue. It is not an option, no. It is compulsory, up to the extent that anyone who deliberately cut ties with his kinship, his relatives, is being cursed in Quran. Allah in Quran said, فَهَلْ عَسَيْتُمْ إِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ أَن تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَتُقَطِّعُوا أَرْحَامَكُمْ أُولَئِكَ الَّذِينَ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ. Those who cut ties with their relatives are cursed by Allah. Imagine what dangerous act which causes the person to be cursed by Allah. The act is to cut ties with his relatives. And unfortunately, in Western societies, cutting ties with the relatives became something usual. Yes, it is usual among them, non-Muslims, but it should not be usual among Muslims, because in Quran, Allah has ordered us to be very kind and very good with our relatives. We have got a hadith from the Prophet narrated by Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, saying that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his holy progeny, said that a person who has got in his life 33 years remaining and he cuts ties with his relatives, Allah cuts from his life 30 years or more. And the person who is having only 3 years remaining from his life and does good to his relatives and be nice to his relatives, Allah adds on his life 30 years more. So imagine when you be in touch and nice and kind to your relatives, Allah will add on your life. And when a person does not do good with his relatives, his life will be shortened. This is an important reminder for every Muslim, especially those who live in the West, that we should not imitate non-Muslims who don't have good relationships with their kinships. We must be nice to all our relatives, even those who do bad to us, those who insulted us, those who wronged us. As far as they are relatives, we are responsible to be nice to them. That is a responsibility which lies on every Muslim. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Does a woman need to perform ghusl or ablution if she had an abdominal ultrasound scan during her pregnancy by a male doctor?
Having a scan, does it harm wudu? No. Wudu does not have anything to do with sonar or scan or x-ray at all. So if this person already had performed wudu and the wudu is still valid, just by having the scan, wudu will not be invalid. So scan does not harm wudu. But you mentioned that a man made the scan for the women. That might be a problem if the man has to touch her body or look at her body without hijab. That is a different issue. But the scan itself does not invalidate wudu at all.
Okay, thank you very much. What are the different levels in Hausa, and what level do you become a sheikh? Is sheikh same as mujtahid?
No. Sheikh is not mujtahid. The meaning of mujtahid, my respected brother or sister, the meaning of mujtahid in Arabic means hard worker. In the terminology of the Hausa, is the scholar who is expert in the Islamic rules and evidence, that he can deduct the evidence of any matter from the evidence. He can deduct the proof of any matter. For example, to say that in the third rak'at of namaz, to recite Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar one time is enough. What is the evidence? The mujtahid is the person who is able, the mujtahid is the person who is able to deduct the evidence from Quran, Hadith, Aql, and Ijma', which is census. So, in short, Hausa has got different levels. The primary level for those who are beginners. They study Arabic and study primary fiqh, jurisprudence, and primary mantiq, logic, and primary usul, the principles of fiqh, and some other books, and then they go on upgrading in the level of the studies. After what we call it muqaddimat, the beginning, then there are sutuh, higher studies. Then after higher studies, we have got what we call it al-bahth al-kharij, which is the research. Research, the big ulama give their lecture researching the matters of fiqh with the evidence and discussing how to prove their opinion or their verdict on the matter. After Bahth al-Kharij, maybe some of the students can be mujtahid. Out of thousands of students who study in Hausa, only few who become real mujtahid. Real mujtahid means the mujtahid in the terminology of the Hausa, not the mujtahid in the terminology of Urdu language. For example, in Urdu language, they say mujtahid for any student who goes to study in Najaf or in Qom. They call him mujtahid. That is not exactly the meaning of the term of mujtahid according to the Hawza. So not every sheikh is mujtahid. No. Sheikh is any person who is studying and able to guide people even by leading salah or by replying the questions on Islamic matters. People call him sheikh by reciting namaz jama'at, namaz mayyit, by reciting the marriage ceremony. So they call him sheikh. Means a man who studied the religion up to some extent and he is able to guide people. But not every sheikh is mujtahid. Not every sheikh is mujtahid. Yes, please.
What literatures would you suggest a 20-year-old like me to read to understand Shia fiqh and Aqidah in depth? Currently, I'm planning to read Sheikh Tusi's Kitab al-Ghaib and Sheikh Saduq's Al-Amali.
Al-Amali. I advise you, if you read Arabic, I don't know whether you know Arabic or not. Let me take it as you read English. To know about Shia Islam, read the book which is called Al-Muraja'at, The Right Path. The Right Path is a very useful book which can give you very useful information about Shia Islam to prove that Shia Islam is the original Islam of the Prophet and Ahlulbayt, peace and blessing be upon him and them. Also, very useful to read, Then I Was Guided, the book of Dr. Tijani Samawi. Very useful book. Also, you can read the book which is called The Missing Link. These books are helpful in giving you an idea what is the meaning of Shia Islam. But if you want to go into the details of Shia Islam, the Islamic rules, the day-to-day rules, then you should read Tawdih al-Masail or Minhaj al-Salihin. All are translated into English on the website of the Marja' of Taqleed. This is what I suggest.
Okay, there's also a follow-up question, which is also books regarding Islamic history and the Seerah.
The book in Islamic history and the Seerah, it is good to read the book of Al-Irshad by Al-Sheikh Al-Mufid. It is also available online. Al-Irshad by Al-Sheikh Al-Mufid is useful book in the Islamic history and the Seerah in English.
Inshallah. Okay, moving on. Can you send me some du'as? Because my son and daughter always fight and they are always angry with each other. Please help me before they both used to pray. Now they both stopped. I just don't know what to do. Please send me some du'as so I can read them for them to be happy, never fight with each other, and always remember Allah, inshallah.
Your two children used to pray namaz and now they have stopped. And now they are fighting among themselves. What you should pray for them? Number one, repeat the Quranic verse. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. This Quranic supplication is very useful. Again, I recite it. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. About making them pray. It is good to recite رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. If you need these to be written, you can send an email to the program. We will inshallah send you back a written answer, inshallah ta'ala. But you should never leave them without support. Be with them as friendly as you can. Explain to them that they should love one another. They are, after all, brother and sister. So they should love one another. They should respect one another. Should avoid fighting among themselves. Don't leave them alone, but be friendly with them. Maybe sometime, you don't know when, your talk might be helpful and might guide them to the right path. And keep on repeating dua, supplication, seeking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enlighten the hearts of your children and guide them to the right path and avoid them the evil of shaitan.
Inshallah, thank you. I just wanted to ask this arguing or fighting between siblings. I mean, of course, I don't know their particular age, but isn't this something normal? And I asked the question just because I think back to when I was a child. I used to have the same problem with siblings, and then as we got older and slightly more mature, things changed and became more mature, and then the arguments stopped, or at least reduced drastically. And even when I look at my children, I see them arguing. Sometimes we as parents ignore it because is that something wrong? Should we be paying attention to it, or only intervening if it gets serious?
In fact, children are children, and the parents should not look at their children as they look at the elders or adults. They should not compare themselves with the children. I mean, many things that we as adults never do it. And if any adult does it, it becomes bad. But when children do it, we should not take it that it is always bad. After all, we have to accept that the children have their own way of thinking, acting, competing, arguing, fighting, and then after a short while they patch up and they talk with one another. So always keep the factor of childhood. Don't ignore it. But that does not mean that we leave them without guiding them. They are children. They do many things that we don't accept because they are children. But we should keep on supporting, guiding, being with them friendly, not by force. Not by force. So when the children argue and fight among themselves, we should not take it as an end of the world. No, they are children after all. That is the limitation of their thinking. Okay, but don't leave them fight and fight and fight, because that might develop in a wrong character, aggressive character. Always try to guide the child with love and affection. Guide the child with love and affection and try to make him understand not to fight when it is not necessary. So be realistic when you deal with the children, and don't put big burden on the child that you want him to behave like the adults. No. He is a child and he has to live his childhood. Yes, please.
Thank you. When we go to Jummah prayer, should our niyyah be for Jummah to be wajib or sunnah? Also, if we pray dhuhr after Jummah, should our niyyah be for dhuhr to be wajib or sunnah?
According to the fatwa of the greatest maraja of today, when we pray Jummah, we pray it in the intention of wajib. After all, Jummah is wajib takhyiri, means on the day of Friday. In the day of Friday, when we pray Dhuhr or Jummah, one of them is wajib. But if Jummah is being established and called for, then it is ihtiyat, precaution, which is obligatory to join Jummah. So our intention in the Jummah will be wajib. When we pray after Jummah, some people pray Dhuhr as ihtiyat, that will be precaution, qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala. Yes, please.
Okay. I just wanted you to maybe elaborate on the hadith that says whoever leaves out 3 Jum'ah out of negligence is bound for hellfire.
Yes, we have such narration in our books. A person who lives in an area where Jummah is being established with all the conditions of it, because not every Jummah is having all the conditions. If all the conditions of the Jummah are perfect and Jummah was being called for, then we should join Jummah. If someone ignores 1, 2, 3 weeks, ignoring joining Jummah Salah, Jummah Namaz, without reason, that is bad. And we have got in the hadith, which you quoted, that for 3 weeks, ignoring joining the Jummah is bad, and it makes the person in a bad situation. Again, I say, the valid Jummah with all the conditions in it. Yes, please.
Okay, there's a couple of names of scholars, Maraji mentioned in this particular question. I'm going to leave the questions out, but ask the question anyway. What is your view of scholars who are sensitive on Tawheed and don't constantly invoke the Imams? Like ...
They are sensitive on Tawheed and say what?
And don't constantly invoke the Imams.
The opinions of the scholars are different. And we don't expect the scholars to be photocopies. No. Right from beginning, we had in the history of Muslims hundreds or even thousands of scholars who have got different opinions. And the opinion of the scholar is not binding you nor me. It is his own opinion. That's why we must draw the line between the Islamic teachings and Islamic thinking. Islamic teachings are very clear from Quran and authentic hadith from the Prophet and Ahlulbayt, peace and blessing be upon him and them. But Islamic thinking is the opinion of Islamic or Muslim scholars. So what Sheikh As-Saduq said, or what Sheikh Al-Mufid said, or what Al-Ghazali, who's a Sunni, said, and what Ibn Taymiyyah said, who's also Salafi, that is not, in fact, the Islamic teaching necessarily. No. Many opinions of the scholars are their own opinions. We take Islamic teachings from the Prophet and Ahlulbayt because the Prophet and Ahlulbayt don't say but only the right. Anyone else from our great scholars, none of them, of our great scholars, is infallible. We have got the 12 Imams, they are infallables. 14 Ma'sumin, infallible. But none of our scholars, even the greatest scholars, they are not infallible. So if a scholar gives his opinion about invoking, not invoking, his own opinion, that scholars among themselves, they discuss the points of difference between them. You should not worry at all. You should follow the verdict of the marja of taqleed, who is being followed by you, who should be the a'lam. A'lam means the most learned among the other big scholars, and nothing to do. You should not worry at all about the different opinions among the scholars.
So now, before we move on, you mentioned one particular person, Ibn Taymiyyah, who, as you are aware, is referred to by many Muslims as Shaykh al-Islam. Does that therefore mean that we should, whilst we vehemently disagree with many of his standpoints, respect him as a scholar who has his own opinion?
Ibn Taymiyyah is not Shaykh al-Islam at all. Ibn Taymiyyah is a sheikh who was being condemned by the Muslim ulama from Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali. All the four sects, they wrote a joint statement that Ibn Taymiyyah has gone astray. And they have written a request to the ruler of Damascus, of Syria, because he was living there, to kill him, because they considered him as out of Islam. They considered Ibn Taymiyyah, those leading Sunni ulama. Ibn Taymiyyah was finished, but after centuries from his death, the Britishers wanted to create a sect among Muslims, to create trouble among them, so they created a sect in Arabia. That sect in Arabia brought Ibn Taymiyyah back from his grave, and they started publicity for his name, and they are calling him Shaykh al-Islam. But we have got Sunni big ulama who have stated that those who call Ibn Taymiyyah as Shaykh al-Islam are wrong. So we should not be misled by those who call Ibn Taymiyyah as Shaykh al-Islam. He is not Shaykh al-Islam at all. Simply, if you read the books of Ibn Taymiyyah, you find him simply a very big liar in his books. I don't put allegation on anyone. Shaykh al-Islam of the Wahhabis, who call him as they call him, and his name is not Shaykh al-Islam for us, his name is Ibn Taymiyyah. If you go to his books and read his books, you will see in your own eyes how many times he lied. He is a big liar. Even a book was written by one of the scholars, Shaykh al-Kadhabin Ibn Taymiyyah. the Sheikh of the liars, Ibn Taymiyyah. We don't have time now to go into details, but many Sunni ulama have mentioned that Ibn Taymiyyah is a very big liar. So how can you trust a liar? And you know, the liar who lies verbally can deny his lie after that. But what about a liar who lies in writing? He is recording on him the lie, that he is lying and recording his lie. He cannot deny it. Ibn Taymiyyah has recorded himself by his repeated lies as a big liar. That is in short. If you want to read more, you can send an email. I can, inshallah, send you some links about the lies of Ibn Taymiyyah.
Said, I know you said you don't want to go into it now, so I don't want to maybe pin you down to ask you for specifics, but what about the concept or the practice of husnul dhan? In other words, could it not be the case that these inaccuracies in his books are simply that, mistakes or inaccuracies on his part as opposed to lies?
Ibn Taymiyyah did not lie one time. Ibn Taymiyyah had a purpose to bring down the status of the Prophet and Ahlulbayt. He had enmity against Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam, and enmity against Fatima alayhi salam. He praised the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, and he put allegations against Ali ibn Abi Talib, against Fatima al-Zahra. We cannot think that he was not meaning it. No, because he did that repeatedly. Again, I say, if you read his books, you will discover how many times he lied and how he insisted on lying and denying the fact. And he comes to the facts of the Muslim history, which are recorded in Sunni books, and he comes and denies it, and he says no one has narrated this. Imagine when there is a long list of narrators and he knew of them, but because he wanted to bring down the status of the Prophet and his holy progeny, he denied the virtues of Ahlul Bayt and denied that any scholar has narrated anything in their favor in this specific matter. So Ibn Taymiyyah is, in fact, of course, his people want to make him a big person and they want to claim that he's Shaykh al-Islam, but he is the leader of lying. He is leader of terrorism as well, because if you read the books of Ibn Taymiyyah, he is the most person who legitimizes beheading, killing, for the smallest reason. Anyone who does not agree with him. I'll give you an example. Ibn Taymiyyah gave a verdict that verdict to kill the Shafi'i Sunnis. Verdict, he did not write that kill every Shafi'i Sunni, but he said that anyone who pronounced the niyat of the ibadah by tongue must be killed. And everyone knows among Sunnis that the Shafi'i Sunnis, they pronounce the niyat, the niyyah, when they pray salah, they say, أصلي صلاة المغرب 3 ركعات. So the Shafi'i sect, they pronounce the niyat. He gave fatwa, verdict, to kill everyone who pronounces the niyat of his ibadah. Imagine, to kill a Muslim who's praying salah because of the difference in a matter which is not a serious matter. That's why Ibn Taymiyyah is the biggest godfather of all the terrorist groups today in all the countries, subcontinent, Arab countries, Europe, America, Africa. If you go through their literature, you will find them always taking the literature or the writings or the opinions of Ibn Taymiyyah. So he is a godfather of the terrorists today. I hope that the time will come soon that the Muslims can make more studies researching from the books of Ibn Taymiyyah and knowing that this man is very dangerous man, though he is famous man and he is being given title of Shaykh al-Islam, but he is in fact Shaykh of Nifaq, Shaykh of the terrorism, Irhab. So we invite all Muslims who respect the evidence to go through the books of Ibn Taymiyyah and discover themselves, by themselves, how damaging person Ibn Taymiyyah is.
Inshallah, thank you. Why do we say Aliyun Waliyullah in Adhan when the Ghulat used to say it, who the Imams cursed?
No, this question is mixing between different issues. This question is mixing between different things. Aliyun Waliyullah is a fact. Ali is wali of Allah, servant of Allah, real humble servant of Allah. And Ali is deputy of the Prophet of Allah. So saying this fact can be from a believer. A group of ghulat can say a statement that does not make the statement wrong, because ghulat also say La ilaha illallah. Shall we stop saying La ilaha illallah? Now, there are people who say La ilaha illallah, but they kill Muslims. So we don't boycott a statement of truth because a wrong person repeated it or said it. No. Ali Waliullah is part of our faith. It is the title of the real Islam. Real Islam means following the real divine leader after the Prophet, Ali ibn Abi Talib. In the authentic hadith in Musnad Ahmad bin Hanbal, the Prophet said that when I was taken to the sky, I saw the paradise, and I saw written on the gates of paradise, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, Aliyun Akhu Rasulillah. That is in Musnad Ahmad bin Hanbal, Sunni book, very famous book of hadith. So Ali Waliullah is mentioned in many hadiths. We have also authentic hadith from the Prophet. إذا ذكرتموني بالرسالة فاذكروا عليا بإمرة المؤمنين. When you mention my name as the messenger of Allah, mention the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali, as Amir al-Mu'mineen. So we say Ali Waliullah because it is the truth. And we have got even in Sunni books that when the Prophet announced in the day of Ghadir, Man kuntu mawla fa'aliyun mawla, the Adhan which was raised immediately after Al-Ghadir, it contained, after Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, it contained Ashhadu anna Aliyan Amirul Mu'mineen. That is in Sunni books as well. And our great ulama, they say that saying أشهد أن عليا أمير المؤمنين أو عليا ولي الله or حجة الله, mentioning the name of Ali in the Adhan and Iqamah is recommended. It is in fact, according to one of the great Maraja, he said it is the title of Iman. It is the title of Iman. I would like to mention to you something happened with one of the great Maraja of Najaf Ashraf. When someone came and told him, is Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah part of Adhan? The Marja told him, it is the whole Adhan, because it is the spirit of Adhan. The spirit of Adhan to obey Allah and the Prophet by following Ali ibn Abi Talib. Otherwise, those who don't obey and don't follow Ali ibn Abi Talib, are they obeying Allah properly? Are they following the Prophet properly? No. Yes, they are Muslims, but they should obey the Prophet who said, for whomsoever I am the master, Ali is his master. So saying Ashhadu anna Ali waliyullah is the spirit of our Iman. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Can we water plants at night?
Can we water
plants at night?
Yes, why not? No wrong in it. Watering plants at night or day or any time is good. There is no harm at all. Yes, please.
Okay. On plants, said no. Actually, do we have any ahadith about having plants in the actual home?
You see, to have plants near our houses is good. Always we have been encouraged to have plants, trees. Yes, but inside the house, I don't remember. I have not seen to have plants inside the house. But some of the professionals say that it is not good for the people who live at a house, inside the house, to have plants, because the plant might give carbon dioxide, might take the oxygen. Anyway, but as far as I remember, I have not seen any hadith to encourage having plants inside the house where people live and sleep and so on.
Sure. And the second question about nighttime, I think you answered this question a couple of weeks ago, but it's been asked again. Can we cut nails at night?
Yes, we can cut nails nighttime. It is not haram. It is permissible, not haram.
Okay, thank you. And Sayyidina, what is the, again, I appreciate that sometimes it's just a case of submission to, well, it's always the case that we must submit to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to or commands us to do. But I just wanted to know if we have any understanding as to why there are specific recommendations when it comes to the disposal of our nail cuttings.
Yeah. You see, our hair and our nail, these two things were part of our body. We prayed salah with that hair, with that nail. We performed wudu, ghusl, reciting Quran, ibadah. Part of our body for some time. It can be, say, 1 month, more, less, even 1 week. So we have got in the hadith that it is makruh to dispose our hair and our nails in the rubbish. We should bury our hair and our nail, burying them, not disposing them in the rubbish or dustbin. After all, part of our body, and our body will be ultimately buried in the earth after our death, our expire from here. All of us are going. So our body will be in the earth. So our hair, our nail should be also buried in the earth.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Which Quranic dua should one recite to become courageous, brave, strong, and bring nur to one's face?
The whole Quran, every verse in Quran has got great benefits. But if you want to be courageous, you can recite وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, because the hadith says, if you want to become the strongest among people, then rely and depend on Allah. من أراد أن يكون أقوى الناس فليتوكل على الله. Do توكلت على الله, rely on Allah, depend on Allah, you will be the strongest. Also, it is very great to recite وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Quranic verse, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. Many of our great ulama, and among them the late Sheikh Bahjat, he was advising his students to recite after every salah 3 times وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ, which is the verse number 2 and 3 in Surah At-Talaq. Surah Al-Talaq, verse number 2 and 3, to be recited after every salah 3 times. It has got great benefits, inshallah.
Inshallah. 1 second. What are the benefits of being a Sayyid compared to normal Muslims? And are there any easements in this life or the questioning in the next life in the grave?
To be a Sayyid, the easement is to be just because you are a Sayyid? I mean, I want to understand the question. First part of it, what is the meaning of being a Sayyid? Being a Sayyid, that means that you are from the family tree of the Prophet and Ahlulbayt. And that is a responsibility on you to obey the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. You are responsible to respect your grandfathers and obey them and follow their way of obeying Allah. So that is the responsibility of every Sayyid. It is not a matter of exemption or facility, no. The Sayyid is respected by people because of the respect of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. But the Sayyid is responsible in front of Allah to obey the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Okay, we've got a few minutes left before the break for Adhan. It is well known that Canada is a multi-faith society. We live in a house previously occupied and lived in by it doesn't, sorry, there's some typos here, but a faith observing family. Should I consider the dryer machine as tahir?
Yes, every item is tahir for us until we know that it is najis. When you come to live in a house and the house was being occupied before you by a non-Muslim, will you consider the house as najis or tahir? The answer, you consider the house as tahir. Because you don't know for sure that this part of the house was made najis. So everything is najis? No. Everything is tahir? Yes. The hadith says, كل شيء لك طاهر حتى تعلم أنه نجس. Everything is tahir for you until and unless you know that it is really najis. So you can take any machine or anything in the house as tahir because you have no evidence that it was being made as najis.
Okay, what if the previous owners had a dog? Because it says here, especially when there is a probability of them having pets at home. We saw remnants of eyes of some animal buried in a raised bed in the backyard, most probably dogs.
Okay. I mean, even those previous tenants who had dog. Okay? But do you know that the dog touched this part of the house, this specific part? You don't know. Yes, it might be that the dog made the garden najis. As far as we don't know where is the najis part, we cannot say for sure that this part is najis. If you want to do precaution, that is your own decision, and it is not bad, not bad. But we cannot tell people to take things najis without having concrete evidence that it is really najis.
Ahsantum. Thank you very much indeed. As mentioned, we are breaking now for Salatul Maghribain. Inshallah, the break will be for just 30 minutes. Keep us in your du'as, inshallah, and join us after the 30 minutes for the continuation of this show so that we can put your questions to our esteemed Islamic scholar, Sayyid Muhammad al-Musri. We'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
It is in the nature of the lover to chant why they love their beloved, to give reasons, to give causes, to give metaphors, to describe the objects of your adoration in words. This is the basis of poetry, of literature, and of academia and study, the true origin of all of these disciplines. But the ultimate task of making a eulogy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, standing in the presence of God and describing to Him,
إن كان الندم على الذنب توبة فإني وعزتك من النادمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله الذي يفعل ما يشاء ولا يفعل ما يشاء غيره سبحانك لا إله إلا أنت اغفر لي ذنوبي كلها جميعا فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب كلها جميعا إلا أنت أسألك بوجهك الكريم واسمك العظيم وملكك القديم أن تصلي على محمد وآله، وأن تغفر لي ذنبي العظيم، إنه لا يغفر العظيم إلا العظيم. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك، لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموضع رزقي، وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي، فأجول في طلبه البلدان، فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران، لا أدري أفي سهل هو أم في جبل، أم في أرض أم في سماء، أم في بر أم في بحر، وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من، وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك، وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآله، واجعل يا رب رزقك لي واسعا ومطلبه سهلا ومأخذه قريبا، ولا تعنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا، فإنك غني عن عذابي، وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك. فصل على محمد وآله، وجد على عبدك بفضلك، إنك ذو فضل عظيم. وصل اللهم على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. إلهي إن كان الندم على الذنب توبة فإني وعزتك من النادمين.
The kindness and generosity of Ahlulbayt alayhim salam has landed them several unique verses in the Quran. In verse 55 of Surah Al-Ma'idah, the Quran says, إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. Only Allah is your guardian and His apostle and those who believe, those who keep up prayers and give alms while bowing in prayer. The story of this verse is quite unique. Leading books of Quranic exegesis from within the Shia and Sunni schools of thought like Tafsir al-Mizan and al-Thalabi have attested that the verse was revealed to mark this incident. One day, a beggar walked into the mosque of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam in the city of Medina and asked for money. Nonetheless, no one in the mosque responded to the beggar's pleas, so the beggar raised his hand towards the sky and said, O Allah, be a witness that I came to the Prophet's mosque and no one gave me anything. In those moments, Imam Ali alayhi salam, who was bowing in prayer, extended his little finger, which had a ring on it, towards the beggar. The beggar went towards the Imam and took away the ring. Following the incident, the Prophet, who was present in the mosque, raised his hands towards the sky and said, O Allah, appoint my brother Ali as my wali and strengthen my back with him. Unlike other verses, Quranic linguists have said that this ayah was revealed on this specific incident, and no one during the time of the Prophet can claim this verse but Imam Ali alayhi salam. While scholars have debated the meaning of the Arabic word wali, linguists say that the term has been taken to mean leadership or master, and not merely friend or helper, especially in the context of the verse. Thus, those who admire Imam Ali alayhi salam and want to follow in his footsteps should honor and carry on the legacy of this great man by continuing to care for the vulnerable and the destitute.
It is in the nature of the lover to chant why they love their beloved, to give reasons, to give causes, to give metaphors, to describe the object of your adoration in words. This is the basis of poetry, of literature, and of academia and study, the true origin of all of these disciplines. But the ultimate task of making a eulogy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, standing in the presence of God and describing to Him why you love Him and how you love Him, is something you begin but you do not end. For as Ali bin Abi Talib says in the first khutbah of Nahj al-Balagha about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا نَعْتٌ مَوْجُودٌ, there is no description, no eulogy which even exists. Now a person could start and have despondency that why am I beginning a task that cannot end? But a lover sees this as the most beautiful form of worship. That I begin a conversation with God, I feel His response to me. In the pleasure I feel in sajda, in the tears that fall from my eyes in dua, in the unknown places from which rizq come from. And you start to see there is something happening. There is a hidden conversation between you and Allah which is happening continuously in your subconscious, in your a'mal, in your actions. And you find that no, this journey does not end. And there is no eulogy which I will finish. La na'tun mawjood, it doesn't exist itself. But on that day, when I will stand for judgment and I will look back, I will see the recollection of an entire lifetime of conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there I will see every action I took was a step going towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And God forbid I stopped or went backwards. you'll be able to see that, yes, it's true, there was no limit to that description.
It was the year 201 Hijri, and 17 years had passed since the martyrdom of Imam Kadhim. The Abbasid Caliph Ma'mun, the son of Harun al-Rashid, had grown tired of the popularity of the 8th Imam, Imam Ar-Ridha, in the city of Medina, and had finally forced him to abandon the city of the Prophet to join the Caliph in the city of Merv in modern-day Turkmenistan. The Imam had to make this lengthy 6-month journey, but was strictly prevented from travelling through cities like Kufa, where there was a strong presence of Shia. During his journey, he passed by numerous cities such as Basra, Khorramshahr, Ahwaz, Ray, and Nayshabur. In every city that the Imam stopped, he would interact cordially with its residents. One of the cities that the Imam stopped was the city of Nayshabur. Nayshabur was one of the major cities of Islamic learning at the time, and had a large population of hadith scholars and jurists. After remaining in Nayshabur for a short while, the Imam decided to move towards Merv, where Ma'mun was located. On his departure from Nayshabur, numerous residents and scholars of hadith gathered around the Imam, insisting that he should not depart from them until he had transmitted some wisdom from the Holy Prophet. It was at this point that the Imam, who was sitting inside a carriage on his ride, pulled aside the curtains of his carriage and said, "I heard from my father Musa ibn Ja'far, who heard from his father Ja'far ibn Muhammad, who heard from his father Muhammad ibn Ali, who heard from his father Ali, who heard from his father Hussein ibn Ali, who heard from his father the commander of the faithful Ali ibn Abi Talib, who said that he heard from Allah's apostle, peace be on him, and his household, who said he heard from Gabriel, who said he heard that Allah had said, 'There is no God but Allah is my fortress. Whoever enters my fortress shall be safe from my punishment.'" When the convoy moved, the Imam claimed, "There are a few conditions entitling entrance to this fortress, and I am one of its conditions." This event became one of the most documented events of the Imam's journey, witnessed by thousands of people, and the narration itself came to be known as the Golden Chain Narration. Why was this narration called the Golden Chain Narration by later scholars and the Shia community? In this narration, the Imam transmits a prophetic tradition, citing a chain of narrators that consists of all of the Imams before Imam Ridha, beginning from his father, going through his grandfather, great-grandfather, through Imam Hussein, Imam Ali, and ultimately to the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet then transmits from Gabriel, who transmits directly from Allah, the Majestic. A very significant point that we also learn from this famous incident is that the Imam very clearly and explicitly points to his own authority, as he tells the people that simply uttering a statement professing the oneness of Allah is not enough to be given salvation and free entrance to the fortress of Allah. Rather, there are conditions to it, and the Imam informs the public that he himself is one of those conditions, thereby implying that those who knowingly reject or usurp the rights of the divinely appointed Imam will be deprived of salvation in the hereafter.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to the Q&A session live on Ahlulbayt TV this Sunday evening. Thank you for your presence and your questions, and inshallah, without wasting any more time, we'll dive straight back into them. Sayyidina, about that najis and the pet and the potential of the previous owners having a dog, it goes back to the washing machine. Let's call it a washing machine and dryer. It goes on to say there's a likelihood of the pets, mats, clothes, etc. being washed and dried in the washing machine. And so
even then, even if najis items were washed by the washing machine, usually washing machines nowadays are connected with the tap water. So the washing machine even if it was being made najis by najis cloth or najis items, being connected with the tap water, which is current water, it becomes tahir after being connected with the tap water.
Okay, and one last question on this particular topic before we move on. If one has a carpet where najis, they know for sure that najis water, well, let's say it was sprinkled on it, not a cup or something, but sprinkles of najis water, maybe sweat from something that was najis or from a najis person, or that person had their hands wet and they sprinkled water or water dropped from their hands onto the floor. Obviously there is certainty that the carpet is now najis. How would one, under such circumstances, make the carpet tahir?
Number one, it makes no difference whether a cup of water or glass of water was poured on the carpet or drop of water. If the water was najis, then no question about the quantity of the najis water. Any drop of najis water makes that part where that drop fold on, makes that part najis. How to make a carpet which was najis, how to make it tahir? The answer is simply by just by pouring water on the najis part of it. When you pour water, once, if you pour water from the tap water, from tap, the tap means from water connected with the tap water or connected with the big quantity of water, then one time is enough. But if you pour a small quantity of water, that also will help. One time, then dry it. Second time, dry it. Ihtiyat, precaution. Third time, dry it, then the carpet is tahir.
And sorry, when you say dry it, you mean just clear that water away or wait till it actually physically...
No. Just to take the water, just to wipe it, not to make it completely dry. No, just to wipe that water, then water again, and water again, ihtiyat. Otherwise, many of the ulama say twice is enough.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. I have heard that Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam was called the moon of Bani Hashim.
Yes.
Is there any Islamic book which describes in detail about the physical aspects or qualities of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam? What he looked like and what Hazrat Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his holy progeny looked like?
There are many books written about Hazrat Al-Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. You know, among Muslims, when we say Al-Abbas, there is the Abbas, Al-Abbas who is the uncle of the Prophet. Al-Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib. And there is Al-Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen. Al-Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib is buried in Baqi' in Medina, while Al-Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen, the brother of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, is buried in Karbala. Many books compiled about Al-Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and the matter that you asked about, but the books which I know about are in Arabic. I know one scholar who has made a list of books written about Al-Abbas alayhi salam, more than 300 books. More than 300 books written about Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, son of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. About the body characteristics of Imam Hussein, that is mentioned in many books, especially in the book known by Bihar al-Anwar, that also are mentioned. But mainly, we say that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is similar to his grandfather and his father, means Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Prophet. More details are mentioned in those books. I personally feel that we need to focus on his teachings and his guidelines and what he wanted us to do. What he wanted us to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that we need his teachings. That's why Allah kept his teachings preserved after more than 1,400 or about 400 years from the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, who was murdered in year 61 after Hijrah. His teachings are there. So we need to read more, know more, implement more his teachings. Yes, please.
Okay. Oh, yes. I wanted to ask you about, and I don't know if this is particular to Iraq only or other Arab countries where Shia are living as well. But we hear
Shia, not Shi'i.
Sorry.
Shia, the plural. Shi'i is single. Yes, please.
Shia are living. And that is, sometimes they refer to Al-Abbas as Imam Al-Abbas. Would this be considered ghulu, or no?
No. You know, those who call Al-Abbas as Imam Al-Abbas are the lay people in Iraq. In Iraq, there are people who are educated, and they are Lumani lay people. So in Iraq, lay people call any religious personality as Imam. Even many Sunni brothers, they call any sheikh. Our Sunni brothers in America, in Canada, they call any sheikh Imam. So similarly, lay people, some lay people in Iraq call any religious personality as Imam. That does not mean the real Imam. We have got 12 Imams only. 12 Imams only. But sometimes you find that Imam is being used in the linguistic meaning, means leader. We call Imam al-Jama'ah. Imam al-Jama'ah is the leader of the Jama'ah. And the word is used in the language, in Arabic, leader. So those people who call Al-Abbas alayhi salam as Imam Al-Abbas are not ghulat, no. They don't mean that he is an infallible Imam. They mean that he is a leading religious personality. So they call even other people like Awn ibn Ali, Imam. They call Abdullah bin Hassan, Imam. They mean a religious leader, not as an infallible Imam at all. So we don't call them ghulat at all.
Okay. Creams and lotions made in non-Muslim countries may contain undeclared ingredients and chemicals, especially the cream base, which may be lard or fat from other non-dhabiha, non-halal animal source. Can one use these creams without hesitation when origin of ingredients are not fully known?
Yes, we can. Using or applying any cream or lotion is permissible because it is not a material to consume. We are not allowed to consume any material if it is not tahir. But to apply on the skin or on the body, there is no condition that we apply only the tahir material. Even if this material, even if it is najis, if you have an evidence that it is najis, means it contains part from the pig. For example, if the material is najis, still applying najis cream or najis lotion on our body is permissible, not haram. But before performing wudu and salah, if it was najis, then we have to clean that part. That also if it was najis. So in short, applying cream or lotion, which you don't know the ingredient, is permissible, whether it is tahir or not tahir. But if you have enough evidence that it is najis, then before performing wudu or salah, wash that part and make that part tahir.
Okay, thank you. Can a husband demand intimacy without giving emotional satisfaction, trust, love, and respect to the wife? Just because the husband clothes, feeds, shelters the wife, fathers kids, and sees to their expenses, can he demand physical rights on wife as per his moods and time?
Marriage has got responsibilities on the husband and on the wife. Sometimes husband is not fulfilling his full responsibilities. Sometimes wife is not fulfilling her full responsibilities. Anyone from them not fulfilling their responsibilities does not mean that the other person should also fail to fulfill his responsibilities or her responsibilities. Husband who is not giving emotional satisfaction to his wife, is he entitled to seek from his wife what usually husband seeks from their wives? The answer is yes, he is entitled. And wife is responsible to respond to the need of her husband, even if the husband is not a good husband. Even if the husband is not a good husband. After all, he is a husband till now. As far as he is still husband. So, wife is responsible to respond to his needs as a husband. We tell the husband to remember Allah and fear God and look after his wife and give her what she requires, what she needs. But if he listens, it is good for him. If he does not listen, we don't want another sinner to come in between who is his wife. When he is not doing well, we don't want his wife to be also doing wrong like him or similar to him. In short, husband who is not giving full responsibility or full rights for his wife is still entitled to get from his wife what usually the husband is entitled to get from his wife.
Okay, how do we understand that in the context of the numerous ahadith where it says, for example, that the husband shouldn't approach his wife like the animals do. He should be slow and take his time.
Yeah. That is there. Definitely it is there. I mean, in the teachings in Islam, there are many teachings guiding the couples how to live their private life together, teaching how the husband should look after the emotional requirements of his wife. He should not deal with her like the animal dealing with the female of the animal. No, they are human beings. He should look after her. He should respond to her requirements and emotional needs. Yes, there are details, teachings in the authentic hadiths. But we say, if husband fails to fulfill his responsibilities in this regard, does it mean that the wife should also refuse him? We say no. We say she should not refuse him. He is responsible and he remains responsible. But if he fails, she remains also responsible to fulfill what he needs from her.
Thank you. Apologies, promised last question on this. Again, it goes back to the najas or the najis item. It's saying it's not a washing machine, but a dryer.
A dryer?
Yes.
Okay. A dryer is a different issue. I mean, because a dryer is just a dryer. But when you put things in the dryer, usually you take the items from the washing machine. So no one puts the najis cloth in the dryer before washing them. So when you put the najis cloth in the washing machine, then najis cloth become tahir. And you put them in the dryer just to dry them. So putting tahir cloth in the dryer will not make the dryer najis. Right? So no harm at all. After you have already washed the najis cloth in the washing machine, which is connected with the tap water, so all the cloth became tahir.
So basically, to conclude, if the dryer has no najis items therein, in other words, no dog's hair or anything like that, there's no reason for them to consider it to be najis.
Yes, of course. I mean, usually you put in the dryer the cloth which was being already washed by the washing machine. That is the meaning of the dryer. No one puts najis cloth in the dryer. The cloth is being put in the washing machine first. And then from the washing machine, they put it in the dryer. Means it has already become tahir.
Okay, thank you. And just in case they are still unsure or would like to do ihtiyat, they can make the dryer or they can make it tahir, even though
if they want to make it tahir, it is up to them, but there is no reason to say or to suggest to make a dryer tahir, because usually no najis item is being put in the dryer.
Sure. Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you. We have literally 30 seconds here.
Yes, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajjil farajahum. It is mustahab every day after morning namaz to repeat Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad 100 times. This is according to Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, who told one of his students that, shall I tell you something that if you do it, Allah will protect your face from the hellfire? The mu'min said, yes, my Imam, my Mawla. Imam told him, say after every morning namaz, 100 times, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we all say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. May Allah bless you all. And I remind myself and everyone that when we performed our Maghrib namaz, we should take it as a habit that whenever time of namaz comes, there is no reason we delay or we postpone performing our namaz. Namaz is the best, and no act can be before performing namaz. And the hadith said, لا يفلح قبل الصلاة عمل. No action will be successful before performing our namaz. Alhamdulillah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina, and of course to all of our viewers and those who sent in the questions. Until the next time, we'll see you again soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It is in the nature of the lover to chant why they love their beloved, to give reasons, to give causes, to give metaphors, to describe the object of your adoration in words. This is the basis of poetry, of literature, and of academia and study, the true origin of all of these disciplines. But the ultimate task of making a eulogy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, standing in the presence of God and describing to Him why you love Him and how you love Him, is something you begin but you do not end. For as Ali bin Abi Talib says in the first khutbah of Nahj al-Balagha about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا نَعْتٌ مَوْجُودٌ. There is no description, no eulogy which even exists. Now a person could start and have despondency that why am I beginning a task that cannot end? But a lover sees this as the most beautiful form of worship. That I begin a conversation with God, I feel His response to me, in the pleasure I feel in sajda, in the tears that fall from my eyes in dua,